YouTube? I'm Chris from OPW Live, although we're not currently live. What a misnomer, right? Alright, let's go. As you are aware, I'm sure, Keith Lee made his Raw debut at the time of this recording. He came out, interrupted Randy Orton. Yes, Randy Orton. Keith Lee, of course, delivered the hits, asking Orton to bask in his glory, letting him know he's limitless. You know, Keith Lee's greatest hits, volume uno. I said uno. Then, of course, Orton and Lee, have a match, and it doesn't last long, and we just kind of forget Lee is there. Limitless, huh? Which begs the question, what next? WWE, of course, has a stellar track record of booking their top NXT stars. Oh, okay, but Bruce, WWE writers, Vince, I'm sorry, Mr. McMahon. I know you watch YouTube all the time. By the way, hey, thanks for clicking on this video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button under this video or next to it. You know, that part is really unclear to me. Hit like and subscribe, and also the bell icon to stay up to date on OPW content. Anyway, writing is harder, and as a struggling writer, I know too well how hard writing is. So, let me do you a favor, Vince, or Mr. McMahon. Give me a shot. Today, I booked Keith Lee's debut on the roster. Alex, roll our intro. I mean, yeah, I talked to Alex even though he doesn't appear in this video. What of it? Alright, where was I? Right. Keith Lee, main roster debut. Let's go. We're going to cover the time period between next week and Hell in a Cell on November 1st. That gives us 9 Raws to work with and 3 pay-per-views. Wow, that's a pay-per-view every 3 weeks. Oof. And as fun as an extended program with Orton and Drew Mack would be, we're not there yet. Keith Lee is a star, but we still have to introduce him to some portion of the audience. We really already forgot about him by the end of Raw, so, let's fix that. Let's give Keith Lee something he deserves. So the first thing we have to do, Mr. McMahon, is we gotta talk about Keith Lee's music. That abomination on Raw that you played last night just needs to go. Just, come on, listen to this.
Who is he? Who's that champ I see? Rhetorical question, but they all know the answer.
Keith Lee, come on. That is a banger. That is star power. I really just did that. Oh gosh, what is wrong with me? Anyway, next week, Keith Lee gets his music back. That tip is free. I mean, all these tips are free. But if you take one thing away from this video, WWE writing staff, you give Keith Lee his music back. All right. Let's move on. So here's what we're going to do first. Sunday at Payback, Keith Lee is backstage with Charlie Caruso. Keith Lee is once again going to deliver Greatest Hits, Volume Uno. He is going to be approached by MVP. MVP is going to do a couple things. He's going to be friendly with Keith Lee. He's going to, of course, put him over. And he's going to offer to have the Hurt Business ringside for Lee's match. Now, you know Keith Lee. He has a very humble way of talking. And he's going to politely decline allowing the Hurt Business to bask in his glory tonight. But Lee will tell MVP he's rooting for Lashley. We saw it when people have declined MVP in the past, that MVP takes it personally. But MVP isn't going to react badly here. He'll shake Lee's hand. Yeah, you go get it, boy. He's going to put his hand up and let Lee walk away. So Lee and Orton will have their match. We're not going to let it go maybe more than 7 or 8 minutes. We don't really want to ruin this match because Orton, who's going to be frustrated with Lee, he's going to get himself DQ'd. Maybe a low blow, chair shot. Orton lines up Lee for the punt kick, but Drew Mack makes the save. So that happens. So Monday night, we need to give Lee a proper debut match. So far, hasn't really happened. So we'll do Keith Lee versus Robert Roode. We just need someone to go ahead and take the loss for Lee. Roode is a guy on the Raw roster not really involved in any ongoing storyline. Or we can grab the half of AOP who isn't injured. I just need someone here not involved in anything on Raw currently. And surprisingly, most of the roster is actually involved in stuff right now. Who knew, right? So later backstage, Charlie will interview Keith Lee, let us know that there is a ton of buzz surrounding Lee. Lee, of course, is very humble, lets us know anyone who wants the opportunity can have at it. Lee says he isn't done with Orton, but Drew Mack asked Lee to let him handle his own business, and Lee's going to respect that. So we're going to get Lee out of that storyline with Orton. Just to save face. Cedric Alexander happens to be walking by and asks if he can have an opportunity. Lee and Cedric fist bump, and the match is set for next week. So next week rolls around. Cedric and Lee have a great match, and Lee puts him away. After the match, we'll have a couple guys backstage who were apparently watching the match. So, give me Robert Roode, of course, Dolph Ziggler, Riddick Moss, Titus O'Neil, right? They talk about how impressive Lee is, and they agree that if someone doesn't stop Lee, they're all in trouble. Here's the seed we want to plant. Lee is just too good, and the locker room is concerned by this. At the beginning of the next Raw, we cut to the parking lot area as a car has apparently crashed into Keith Lee's car from the side. T-boned, if you will. We'll cut to the trainer's room where Keith Lee is leaving, rubbing his neck. MVP walks up to him, see how he's doing. Keith Lee is shaken, but fine. MVP says he heard, through the grapevine, the locker room is worried about Lee taking his spot. The Hurt Business could watch Lee's back, as he will be in the biggest match of his career against U.S. champ Apollo Crews. Earlier in the day, Raw announced that Keith Lee has accepted Apollo Crews' U.S. Open Challenge, which means Crews retains at Payback, and in the last couple of weeks did his Open Challenges against, the Ricochets of the world or something. Now, anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, MVP inviting the Hurt Business to ringside. That's right. Once again, Lee is too polite and tells MVP to set up chairs at ringside so they can bask in the glory of the new United States champion. So later that night, Apollo and Lee have their match. Lee looks impressive, of course. We might even overbook him a bit to be the clear favorite to win the match, so really he gets most of the offense, that kind of thing. Then the lights do the flicker thing. The flicker. And Retribution hits the ring and starts attacking Keith Lee. And not really attacking Apollo, because in my headcanon, he's the leader of Retribution, but we're not revealing that yet. Oh, by the way, Mr. McMahon, Alex is going to link the video right now. I believe it's over this shoulder. It might be over this shoulder. But watch it. I'll tell you who was in Retribution, and in case you're lost for ideas there. Apollo Crews is the leader. Alex, if you please. So anyway, Retribution hits the ring, really lays into Lee, but then the Hurt Business intervene and chase them off. Apollo does the I'm being booked as a face, but I'm secretly a bad guy face as he clutches his title and leaves. You know the smile he does. It's great. It really is. Commentary puts over that Lee was about to win that match. MVP checks on Lee, and that's the end of the segment. Now, do not worry. If you're thinking, wow, Chris is turning the Hurt Business babyface, do not worry yourselves. The Hurt Business returns to Raw Underground and beats up the Goobers again later in the show. Just to remind you, they're the bad guys too. Speaking of, let's get Riddick Moss and Dolph Ziggler and whoever else, Titus O'Neil, backstage together again. Have Titus tell them, wow, if Keith Lee wins the United States Championship, we'll never have a chance to win the title again. Something silly like that. Titus is a big company guy, so he can pull that off. So it's now the go-home Raw to Clash of Champions. There is a number one contenders over-the-top battle royale for the United States Championship. We'll get the Raw roster, some NXT guys, some random SmackDown guys to fill the pot. The only 5 people that actually matter in this match are the final 5. So it's going to be Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Dolph Ziggler, Riddick Moss, and Keith Lee. Dolph and Riddick are let's team up to eliminate Keith Lee. The Hurt Business first watch Lee get beat up by Moss and Ziggler. They'll get Lee on the ropes. Ziggler might do the zigzag or the sleeper and choke out Keith Lee, just to keep Lee out of the action. Then Lashley will explode and make the save with Benjamin, as much as the save they can do. Benjamin manages to super kick Benjamin in exchange to knock him over. Lashley then tosses Moss over and then tosses Ziggler over. He turns around and Lee will clothesline him over the top rope. Lashley does the backflip, lands on his feet outside, but he is pissed. Keith Lee leans over the top rope, just doing the this match is hard thing, and Bobby Lashley will start yelling at Lee. Shelton then comes up from behind to lift Lee up, to dump him over, and then Lashley will just kind of pull him down from the outside. Shelton Benjamin is the number one contender. Now, I know. The Clash of Champions is basically a fake pay-per-view. Benjamin can work a competitive match with Apollo, and we've planted the seeds for something greater. So backstage, we'll cut to Apollo, who is apparently, he's relieved that Lee didn't win. He tells Charlie that Lee would have been a dangerous opponent, and now he can take it easier at Clash of Champions because he's beaten Benjamin before. So what a dick, right? That's who Apollo Crews is. Anyway, Clash of Champions, we're going to set up a couple things. Keith Lee is going to tell Apollo on the pre-show that if Apollo retains, Lee is looking for his open challenge map he never got to finish, right? Apollo dances around promising Lee another match, but indicates that, yeah, we'll do it. Later in the night during the pay-per-view, the Hurt Business will walk by prior to Benjamin's match. Yes, by the way, Mr. McMahon, we need to have the U.S. title match on the main card. Do the tag titles in the pre-show, okay? This is important. It is the number 2 in title on Raw, and this is Keith Lee's story here. So, main show. MVP stops and approaches Lee. On behalf of Lashley, he apologizes for the way Lashley acted in eliminating Lee in the Battle Royale. Lashley has, of course, a look on his face of like, I ain't apologizing for shit. Nonetheless, Lee is a very nice guy and appreciates it, says it's water under the bridge. MVP invites Lee to join them at ringside, but Lee says that they will already be basking in his glory because Lee is guest commentating. Lee walks off, MVP and Shelton head to the ring, but Lashley hangs back, just kind of with that angry look that he gets on his face. Ziggler and Riddick Moss walk up. They mention that if Benjamin wins, he'll have no shot if he has to defend the title against Lee. Okay, so we have the match, and it's a competitive one because, and I want to stress this, Shelton Benjamin is good at the wrestling, Mr. McMahon. He really is. Let him wrestle. Anyway, they have a good wrestling match. Apollo rolls up Benjamin, handful of tights, he wins. Lee, who, by the way, puts over everyone on commentary because he's such a nice guy, gets up and goes to the ring to congratulate Apollo. He offers his hand, this hand. Before Apollo can shake it, the lights do the Retribution thing, the Retribution, and Retribution hits the ring. As they start to surround the ring, Apollo rolls under and runs up the ramp before Retribution can cut him off. So Retribution mob Keith Lee. At first, they get him down, but Keith Lee is limitless, so he does the spot where he goes and tosses everyone off. Then, he pounces someone. Someone in Retribution then introduces a chair to take Lee down. A couple of chair shots, and the Hurt Business, who have been at ringside, jump in, start beating some dudes up, and chase off Retribution. However, as Lee gets to his feet, Lashley's face changes to anger, and he spears Lee. MVP and Shelton pull Lashley back, and they leave the ring. Okay, so we have, just 3 weeks to Hell in a Cell. All right. First, it is announced that Lee is getting another shot at the U.S. title earlier in the day. On the show, however, we'll see Apollo in the trainer's room complaining of an injury he suffered last night. Maybe he'll blame Retribution or just, his shoulder sore or whatever. He says he wants to defend the belt, but he can't, and says he has to postpone the U.S. title match. Later in the night, Charlie catches Lashley by himself. She asks him why he speared Lee. Ziggler and Moss walk up and answer the question because Lee is a threat. He came onto Monday Night Raw to jump the line, going after Orton, demanding U.S. title matches. The locker room is sick of Keith Lee already. Moss might even admit that the locker room is afraid of Keith Lee and is going to capture all the titles and never let them go. Lashley silences them and just says he is sick of Lee talking about his glory. Lee is going to have a match tonight, and it is with me. Lashley storms off. Yeah. So Lashley and Lee is the main event here. I doubt anything else is important at this point. In fact, a bunch of the locker room is going to come out at ringside and watch the match, right? Lashley and Lee are both really good, and they're going to have a great match. Prior to the commercial break, Apollo is going to walk out and join commentary. Apollo mentioned being happy to defend the title in the future once he feels better. One thing that will become apparent at ringside is how hostile the wrestlers, especially heels, are to Lee. Samoa Joe can even, he's the pulse of the locker room. He can even talk about the locker room being very worried about Lee getting on a roll, going on a win streak, winning some titles. That's the thing we want to put over. Lee is bigger than is a larger than life star, right? So at the end of the match, the lights do the Retribution thing. Retribution appears on the ramp, so we'll sell some chaos here. The referee's distracted. Some of the wrestlers would go confront Retribution. Some other referees run out too, and WWE security because Mr. McMahon, and this is important, Retribution is not supposed to be part of the show, so security wants to get rid of them. Anyway, with the referee in the ring and also Keith Lee distracted, a few heels might kick Lee, do something, right? We'll leave that up to the matchmakers, to the road agents, right? That's what they're called. Yeah. Lee will have to be attacked by a few guys to sell this. He'll turn around into a spear. Someone like Benjamin gets the ref's attention, and Lashley pins Lee. All right. Okay, audience. And I mean my YouTube audience too, but Mr. McMahon, you may also want to hear this. I know what you're thinking. Chris, why are you having Lee getting pinned so early in his run? Well, first off, he's going to get attacked by 5 dudes. So of course he should eat the pin, right? Secondly, and this is important, I want to stress this, undefeated streaks make wrestlers uninteresting. Sometimes they work, but honestly, more times than not, WWE, We rely on unbeatableness too much. We need to show we're willing to give Lee a loss so that his matches are more compelling. This is the last time Lee is going to lose in this video, so chill. But, how are we supposed to sell that Lee can lose matches if he doesn't lose a match? So yeah, Lashley pins Keith Lee. Alright, so next week it is Raw. It's 2 weeks away from Hell in a Cell. First, Cruz is feeling better. He'll do the U.S. Open Challenge this time, but he calls out Cedric Alexander. Apollo says he will give Lee his title match, but Cedric has been grinding and waiting for his opportunity. This is my grinding. They will have a match, and Apollo will get the win. Lee can have a match with, Arturo Rujas. He's hanging around WWE Underground, and he'll win in quick fashion. Sorry, Arturo. We'll make it up to you by allowing you to win a bunch on Raw Underground. After the match, Lee gets a microphone. He's, of course, very polite and very humble. He's awesome. But he asks for the U.S. title match he's never gotten. Lashley will come out with MVP. MVP talks about how the Hurt Business tried to have Lee's back, even though the rest of the locker room was out to get him. MVP will reveal new angle of the footage of Lee's car accident. Apparently, Apollo was watching the whole time, and Retribution was responsible. They drove the car into Keith Lee's car. Just a small collision, but just enough to rattle the cage here. MVP starts to tell Lee the Hurt Business can protect him, but Lashley, he takes the microphone. You know what? He's sick of Lee's hype. He's sick of Keith Lee's attitude, and he's sick of Keith Lee's entitlement. Lashley pinned Lee last week. He should get the U.S. title match. At this point, Samoa Joe can stand up from commentary to interrupt, because he is the pulse of the locker room and he gets the stuff. And he says that he was just informed that Apollo Crews will defend the U.S. title match against Bobby Lashley and Keith Lee in a triple threat elimination match at Hell in a Cell. Right? Come on. This is what we're doing. Here we go. Just one final show until Hell in a Cell. Lashley, Crews, and Lee are all doing a beat-the-clock challenge for the side of stipulation. So Lashley can face Cedric, Crews can face Ricochet, and Lee can face Benjamin. Right? Lashley sets a decent time around the 6-minute mark. Crews is up next. He'll get Ricochet's tights to set a time around the 5-minute mark. Lee will face Shelton, and despite distractions by the Hurt Business and Crews, he'll beat Crews' time by about 15 seconds. So Lee will get the microphone. He announces that all he wants is he wants everyone banned from ringside. He would like some sort of security measure to protect against Retribution's interference. Lee says there will be no excuses when he wins the match. So we'll fast forward here to that Sunday, November 1st. It is Hell in a Cell, and this hot rivalry is coming to an end. We're going to give these guys 15 minutes. Lee eliminates Crews after 12 minutes, and then he pins Lashley as well to win the title. Celebrate. Keith Lee is your U.S. champion. So I think I've done enough free writing for now. What do you think? YouTube, WWE writers, Mr. McMahon. Feel free to leave a comment below and tell me how right I am. If you like this video and want to see more exclusive OPW Live bonus content, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and click the bell icon to stay up to date with everything we are working on at Occupy Pro Wrestling. I'm Chris from OPW Live. We are the 10%, and I'll see you next time. Alex, play me out.